Hello people, hello, welcome back to this channel. My name is Juliet and today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful mini skirt. So on the requirements, you're going to use yarns of your choice. I'm using Robin yarn, 100% acrylic. It is a small size yarn which I'll be double stranding. You'll need scissors, a crochet hook. This is 3.5 millimeter hook, and a tape measure. I misplaced mine, but I'm going to look for it later. So to begin with the skirt, we're going to make the waist area. So we're going to first make the waistband. So here you need a tape measure. If you are using a tape measure, then you need to measure your waist and then use it to make this waistband. So I don't have my tape measure right now, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to chain and then place it on my waist and see if it fits. So guys, I have gone ahead and made 95 chains. So this is 95 chains, and then I'm just going to find the right side. So this is what you're going to do. Just go with this side this way, and here it is. And then we're just going to make a slip stitch in the very first stitch. You make a slip stitch. Okay, so now this is my waistband, right? So to begin, I'm going to make double crochets. So I have chained 2, and then in the very first stitch I make a double crochet. So I'm going to make double crochets all around until I reach the other end here. So guys, I'm only left with 2 stitches remaining. This one, and this one. The very first stitch. So this is the waistband. So to move next, I'm going to start making, so from the waistband to the hips, I'm going to have to make increases such that when I reach the hips, the skirt will be able to fit. So moving forward, I'm going to chain 2, and then in the very first stitch, I'm going to make 2 double crochets. So that's 2 double crochets, and then continue making double crochets without making any increase. The only increase is that of the very first stitch. Okay, so you're going to make double crochets until you reach this end here. So I'm left with 2 stitches. So here we have 1, 2. So the first one, I'm going to make a double crochet, And then the very last one, I'm going to make an increase again. So here I'm going to place 2 double crochets. So that's 2 double crochets, and then make a slip knot in the very first stitch here. So I hope you can see this was the chain 2 space, and then I make a slip knot, a slip stitch, sorry. So from here, so the next row I'm not going to make any increases because I have made the increases in the 2 increases in this previous row, right? So moving next, I'm not going to make any increase. So this is chain 2, and then in the very first stitch you make a double crochet, second double crochet. So go ahead and make double crochets without making any increases. So I'm left with 2 stitches of this row. So the next row we're going to make increases. So in the fourth row we're going to do what we did in the second row. That is, we're going to make an increase in the first stitch and the very last stitch. So in this first stitch I'm going to make 2 double crochets, and then in the rest of the stitches I continue with one double crochet in each stitch. Fifth row, we're not going to make any increase. So each stitch we're going to make 1 double crochet in each stitch. So chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and then make a half double crochet, chain 1, and then make another half double crochet in the very same space, which is the chain 1, the first stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, and then make a half double crochet. So chain 1 again, skip 1 and make a half double crochet, chain 1, skip 1 and then make a half double crochet. So continue doing that until you reach this side here. Just chain 1 and then skip 1 and make a half double crochet the next space. So I'm almost at the end of this row. So I'm just going to chain 1 and then skip this one, and then in the very last stitch I'm going to make half double crochet, and then chain 1, and then in the same space I make a half double crochet, and then chain 1, and in the second this is the chain 2 that I made. So in the second one I am going to make a slip stitch. So at this point here I have made increases. Yeah, so moving to the next row, I'm going to make in the very first stitch double crochets in the first stitch, and then in this space here, and then in the next stitch, and then in the space in the middle, and then in the next stitch, in the space, into this stitch here, and then in the space, so continue doing that. So this is the 7th row, right? So as we move towards the hips, we need to make increases until we reach the hips measurements. So in this next row we're going to do something different. We're going to make we're going to make treble crochets. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then to make treble crochets we're going to put the yarn twice on the hook this way, and then insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, through 2, and then yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. So we're going to make an increase. So remember, we are making an increase until we reach our hip size. So my hip size should be 120, because I don't have a tape measure right now, so I know that it is 120. So I'll just be counting the stitches until I reach that point where the chains are 120. Okay. So we have made an increase in the first stitch. So in this row here, I want to make extra increases from, like, in these corners here. In this corner I'll make an increase, and then in this corner I'll make an increase, and then in this corner here in the middle part I'll make an increase. So if you want to make sure that it's very correct, you can put stitch markers, but I'm not going to place any stitch mark. I'm just going to do randomly. I'm just going to ensure that this corner has one, this corner has one, and this corner has one. I want to reach my hip measurements, so I'm just going to continue. Each stitch from onwards is going to be treble crochets, 1 treble crochet in each stitch until I reach this corner. So at this point you can see that then I make a slip stitch. So I was saying, at this point you can see that this length here has already grown so much, not like the waistband. So to continue, I'm going to make double crochets in this row. So chain 2 and then start making double crochets. So go ahead and make double crochets without making any increases. So I have finished this row. So at this point here, we need to start making same patterns. So from this page, this is 1 2 3 4 5 6. From row 6, 7 8 9. From row 6 to 9, we're going to start repeating. That is a row of space, and then a row of double crochet, and then a row of treble crochet, and then a double crochet, and then space, a row of spaces, and onwards. So from row 6, we're going to start repeating the pattern that we have made from row 6. Okay, that is this one, this one, this one, and this one. So that means that we're going to, in the next row here, we're going to make a row of spaces. So the first one I did row of spaces using half double crochets, and I feel like they're not very visible. So in the next row here, I want to make them a little bit visible. So what I'm going to do, so first of all, I'm going to chain 1 2 and 3, and then in the same space I'm going to make a double crochet. Instead of making half double crochets like I did here in these spaces, I'm going to make double crochets. So chain 1 and then skip 1 and do a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1 and do a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1 and do a double crochet. So continue doing that until we reach this point here. So I am left with only one stitch here. So I'm going to chain 1 and then make a slip stitch in the second. The first stitch that I made here is very small, it is not visible. So the second one, I'm just going to make a slip stitch there. So that is what has been created. So you see that this spaces is larger than the first one. So that's actually what I am going to continue doing. So because we are repeating the pattern from here, so it means that the next row is going to be this one of double crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and place double crochets. So I have not yet reached my hips measurements point. So in the treble crochets I will make an increase, but in this next row I'm not going to make any increases. Okay, so chain 2 and then start making double crochets. Just like we did in the previous row. In the space, on top of the double crochet, previous double crochet, and then in the space, and then on top of the double crochet, and then in the space. So let's continue doing that until we reach this point here. So I'm at the end of this row. I'm just going to make a slip stitch to finish off this row. So the next row, so I have done this row here, these of double crochets. Now I'm going to move to the treble crochets. In the treble crochets I'm going to make increase. So chain 1 2 3 and 4, and then at the beginning, so in this row I'm not going to make a very huge increases. So in this first stitch and the very last stitch, I'm going to make increases. So in this stitch I'm going to make one treble crochet, and then the second treble crochet. So from now onwards I'm going to make one double crochet in each stitch until I reach this point here. So in the very last stitch we were supposed to make an increase, so I make 2 treble crochets, that is 1 and then 2 treble crochets, and then finish off this row. So from now onwards we're going to continue with the same pattern, which now I'm supposed to move to the double crochets here and then go next to, and then next will be this spaces row, and then the next one double crochet and then treble crochets, and onwards and onwards. So from this point I am not, because I have reached my hips measurements, I'm not going to make any increases again, so I'm just going to continue doing this pattern here. From this point to this point I'm going to continue doing it until I reach the point where the height that I want my skirt to reach. Okay, so I have made 35 rows of this beautiful skirt, and I ended it with this part here, the very first one of this one. So this one is the space and then the double crochets. So I'm just left with making the fringes, and I have already chained this one here, which is going to be like a waistband, so that this waist can really fit. So to make the fringes, so this is six strands. This is 6 strands. I'm just going to place them here. So this is what I'm going to do, and then bring them in. And then out and tighten it. So I hope you have seen what I have done. So 6 strands. Then I'm going to pass 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in here I bring in the yarn that way, and so I have created a loop, and then I bring all the yarns inside that same loop that way, and then I tighten it. So I grab all the yarns and make a loop on the crochet hook, and then bring all the yarns inside the loop, and then I tighten. That way. So go ahead and do the rest. I'm going to do this one on each of these spaces, all of the spaces, and then I show you how it looks like. So I chose to do the fringes that way because you can actually pull it off. If you want to remove it, you can remove it by just pulling this yarn, these old yarns here, because it's just a simple knot. The skirt is done. This is how it looks like. Look at these spaces. I really love these spaces. and then I matched it up with this beautiful puff stitch top. Look at that. I don't know if it's visible, it's black, you know.